how to grow your own tea garden. Yes, so you have an endless supply of herbal tea for yourself or to share with other people. It doesn't matter what season this currently is. You can do this indoors for now if outdoors is not allowing you to grow herbs in this season of life. Okay, so how to grow your own herb garden. Make sure that you watch my previous video on the top 10 most common and beginner friendly herbs in my opinion that I have personally grown for years, so I know for a fact that they are beginner friendly. So go watch the video and subscribe. So how to grow your own tea garden, I already said that. Okay, so really there's 3 common ways to do so. Number 1 is that you can buy the plants online. It already comes in a pot, in soil, with roots. It's already a plant. It's either a young plant or a mature, whatever phase you buy it in. You could buy it like that. You could buy it online. I always recommend Etsy. I used to be a plant seller on Etsy, and I know for a fact there's a lot of genuine plant people out there who will ship you a live, beautiful, healthy, organic plant. So you could buy it online, or you go to a store if it's that season of the year where they're selling them live plants. You can go buy all the plants you want. If you want to go buy the 10 plants I listed yesterday in my video, then go do that, right? So you can buy them. Now, number 2 is that you can propagate them. Propagate means that you're going to make a plant out of a plant. So let's say you buy all those plants from online or in person, and now you want more than one of those plants. Let's say you buy a peppermint. So you have your peppermint, you're going to make a cutting out of it, you're going to put it in water, you're going to put the transparent glass with water near sunlight, and you're going to patiently wait for it to grow roots. Usually takes 3 to 4 weeks, and then once it has roots, you're going to take a pot, put some soil in there, and plant your little plant, and now you got a plant. Let's say that you want to skip the whole having to buy a potted plant, save some money, make this a little more affordable. You can still propagate this. It kind of depends on your area and what resources you have available. Then you can go to your local market. I always recommend buying organic herbs because you're going to consume this. And you go to your produce aisle and you get your hands on all these herbs. So I know for a fact most like wholesome places have like sage, lavender, basil, rosemary, mint. Those are the most common I know for sure that you can find. Some of the ones you might struggle finding are catnip, chocolate mint, spearmint, lemon balm, and rue. Those might be a little trickier to find, but it's fine because you can find them online, I'm sure. But rosemary, lavender, sage, basil, peppermint. That's 5 you can start with. Go to your store, buy them from the produce aisle, and you can either propagate them in water, or you can skip that and literally just cut off a piece and put it in soil. Both methods, you're going to have patience and wait. It sounds easy, but just note that depending on the herb might require a little more work. For example, lavender. If you were to propagate lavender, take a cutting, put it in soil, you're going to have to do some extra steps. You're going to have to create like a little mini greenhouse for it, and make sure that it's getting the correct humidity and all of that. Otherwise, it's not going to be successful. So I would just suggest doing a little research on the specific herb that you are going to propagate, because they do differ a little, okay? But don't make this harder than it is. And then option number 3 is that you can grow them from seed, which if you're a beginner when it comes to gardening in general, plants, I don't recommend starting from seed. It's just too much work, and the chances of it being successful are small if you're not experienced with how to grow from seed, because the temperatures have to be specific, humidity, the light it's receiving, the environment it's in. Like, there's so many variables that's affecting whether the seed is going to germinate and go through all of its phases to even give you a little root. Okay, so honestly, the easiest way is to either buy the plant itself and continue to make plants out of plants, or propagate it from cuttings. So those are your options, right? I would suggest starting this little garden with a few of these herbs in your little kitchen, if you have the space near a window in your kitchen, or somewhere around your house near a window. Okay, now if it's winter time, I guess this doesn't really matter because it may not even be receiving the natural light that it needs. You're going to have to invest into an herbal lamp so that it receives its light that it needs. Okay, herbs in general require 6 to 8 hours of light. That's a lot of time out in the sun. Now, herbs don't require much water. You don't need to water them every day. The best way to tell if your herb needs water, because they're all so different, is to stick your finger in the soil, and if it feels really dry, then it needs water. If it still feels a little moist, do not water it. That's the easiest way to go about it. The other thing is that your plants need good drainage, so the pot, it better have holes at the bottom. So if this is an indoor garden, when it comes to watering them, either take your little pot to your sink and water it, because the water is going to come out at the bottom. Or wherever you have them seated, make sure that it has like good air coming in and out. For example, like, do not put your potted herb on the floor, on the ground, on carpet, and expect that to be okay. Like, I've literally done this before, I don't know why. Because also it was next to the heaters, which I have heaters on the ground, which is gonna kill your plant, obviously. So if your pot is on this carpet, it's not getting like air through the holes, and when you water it, it just needs good drainage, okay? The other thing that's really important with herbs is that herbs need healthy soil, rich in organic matter. Soil is vital to their growth. You could do everything right when it comes to growing your herb, but if the soil is old and crusty, or let's say you went and you pulled soil from your old garden and it's been sitting there rained on for years, it most likely has lost the nutrients that your herb plant needs in order to actually thrive and continue to grow. So if you're buying this from someone like already potted, you need to make sure that it's fresh soil, that it has nutrients, all of that. Now, if you are about to pot it, like you're cutting with roots, make sure that you invest in good soil, because your soil is the nutrients to your plant. You understand? Okay, so let's say you got your herb, it's in some nice nutritious soil. You're giving it 6 to 8 hours of light, whether that be natural, indirect sunlight coming through your window, or if you have these planted outside, or with an artificial herbal indoor lamp, right? Sun, and then you're watering every so often when it is needed. That's really all you need to take care of your little herbal garden. And it's gonna be successful. If you want to be extra, you can invest into a slow releasing fertilizer containing equal amounts of macronutrient, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. I personally don't even do that. My plants don't require it. Sometimes I will put eggshells into my plants. You can look this up. You grind up some eggshells and it's nutritionist, even for herbs. But I don't invest into fertilizers, guys. I feel like the soil is really where it's at, you know? So those are pretty simple things to have a successful little tea garden, whether it be indoor or out the door, it does not matter. However, please note that if you are doing this indoors, let's say you have a small little pots, let's say you got 5 pots growing, you know, they're thriving and such in your kitchen, and you're going to notice that as you're taking care of them, you're going to learn a lot, okay? You're going to notice the plant will start growing, of course, right? And if you're not constantly using the leaves, like let's say you have peppermint, constantly cutting them and using them for your own use, then you need to intentionally prune the leaves, cut them so you encourage growth. Now also note that as the plant begins to get bigger, you may notice at the bottom of the holes, you may start to see the roots, or even if you give it a gentle pull, it might feel like it's like really rooted, right? Now this is called root bound. You can research this. Root bound basically means that your plant is bounded by a barrier, right? Which can lead to an unsuccessful, unhealthy plant. Because think of the plant, you got this little herb and it's trying to continue to thrive, it's trying to continue to grow, it's trying to continue to just live its life, and it wants to get bigger, but the pot is not allowing the roots to extend. What's happening is that it might not have enough nutrients now from the soil to continue to actually grow, and definitely not have space. So you'll start to see all the roots like all coiled in here, and that can be very unhealthy. So basically what you have to do is that at some point when your plant gets bigger, you have to transfer it either to a much bigger pot, giving it more space with fresh, nutritious, organic soil, or if you have the space where you live, to move it outside. Okay, those are your 2 options. Now, let's say you want to move it outside and continue to have your little indoor garden in your kitchen. What you can do is from that mama plant, you make plants out of the plant. So then you can make a cutting and then go through the propagation process of that. Then you'll have this new baby plant, and then you basically just start it over again. The thing is that once you have a plant, an herbal plant, and it's beautiful and healthy, you will endlessly have herbs if you know how to take care of it by doing that process, by propagating, making plants out of plants. So that's really important to know, that although it is really easy to take care of herbs and, you know, make sure they're getting their water and their sun and their nutrients, that they are going to continue to grow and they're going to need space. Okay, it's like a person. When we grow, we grow out of our environment and we need a new fresh space. Okay, so that's where you're going to start to learn more, because let's say you decide to move it outside, then you gotta think. You're like, okay, what season is it? Is it ideal to move it outside during this freezing temperature? Should I wait? What do I do? Is it gonna receive its light? You know, so you gotta start to think whether it would be ideal for you to do that. The other thing is that depending on the herb that you move outside, that you have to keep in mind that it has the ability to take over. Okay, like mint, if you allow it, it's just gonna take over your garden. Whatever you have planted there, it's gonna say nah. It's gonna take over. The other thing is that once you have it planted into a bigger space, the importance of pruning it and knowing that there is a correct and ideal time to prune your plants. Like, for example, the root herb, queen of herbs, I actually have a video coming out for this. There is an ideal time of when to prune it according to the cycles of the moon, which is really crazy. And once you get deeper into learning about herbs, you can also learn about like their masculine and like feminine energy and like associations to energies and just all of that beautiful stuff. So all in all, growing herbs is just super amazing. Like I said, once you start using them for your own foods or your own teas, like you're gonna feel so amazing because that's your energy that you poured into growing these plants. Like, it is so beautiful, especially when once you start to make plants out of plants and you see your garden expanding and your knowledge expanding on how to take care of this little life. It's so beautiful. So growing indoors is super amazing, although I will say that it's always even more amazing to take it to the next level and to grow outdoors if you have that space available wherever you live, because outdoors in the right season, it's receiving literally that good sunny D, the pH of rain. For example, here in Oregon, it rains every so often, so herbs love that. They love the rain. It's different than that dirty water we water them with, and they will flourish. To sum this video up, how to grow your own herbal garden, indoors or outdoors. Number one is decide if you want it indoor or outdoors, depending on the season and your living circumstances. Number two, decide how much you want to invest, because if you are able to, then make it easy on yourself and just buy the plant already potted. If you want to take yourself through that journey and learn how to actually propagate, then you can do both. You know, buy the plant, propagate, or go to your produce aisle at the store and propagate that way. Or if you want to start from seed, it's going to require more research depending on the specific herb on how to do that and get your hands on some good quality seeds. Okay, and then after you decide that, then invest your money and make sure that you have the space available. Also, you can look into herbal indoor lamps. I will drop the link below to the one that I use. And then make sure you have it all set up. Boom, you have your plants. Just give them what they need, their light, their water. Make sure the soil is good. And that's pretty much it. That's really pretty much it. And then, as I mentioned, those other little things, as you're growing them, you're going to learn that it might require more space. So you might have to move the plant into a bigger pot or outdoors, and you're just going to learn through the journey. So I hope that this helped you. I know that it's not like really deep into the details for every single herb that I list on the list, but honestly, you can do your own research, because I don't know what herb it is that you want to grow. Okay, so you can definitely get all this information for free, either at your library, check out some books, or online. Literally, there are so many bloggers with free information on how to start your own garden. The last thing I'll say is that, let's say you have just one favorite tea of yours and you're like, I just want to focus on growing this one herb, so I have endless peppermint tea. Then just focus on that herb, invest in that one herb, and let that be your first step to having your little garden. and it's gonna be amazing, okay? I hope you enjoyed this very beginner friendly video on how to get started with growing your own tea garden, and make sure to connect and leave your comments below. Remember that drinking tea from herbs that you grew yourself tastes way better, let me tell you. So I hope that this video inspired you to get your herbal garden started, even if it's the winter time or come the next seasons of life. Okay, there's so much abundance, and herbs will definitely teach you that. So thank you so much for being here.